is because I'm going across Wi-Fi directly to the router instead of via Ethernet. We'll see how that plays out. But obviously, that good news and also more good news is the drone is fixed. So we're back to getting views from 200 feet above the ground here. And you notice the sky looks a little bit ominous there, getting some stratus and stratocumulus coming up from the south. What could be causing that? Let's take a look and bring up the charts. We're back to southerly flow. So we got the Gulf open, and we're bringing in the lower ceilings. Let me bring up my tool here. Hang on just a second. Got to scroll up for that one. All right, so yeah, we're bringing up IFR ceilings up to the Austin, San Antonio, Houston area, and marginal VFR up into North Texas. And with that, I'm going to stop real quick and take a look at the chat, make sure everything is looking okay. Let's see here, zero drop frames. Let me check through here. Music mixed a bit hot, okay. Voice audio is a bit low. Yeah, the microphone is acting a little bit weird. Let me bring that up. Hang on just a second here. So usually I go into this panel here, and if I've been moving the computer around, I find that these settings have been changed. So let's see here, levels. Okay, that looks good. And I'm trying to find out why your microphone is a little bit low, because I can see the levels over here. Yeah, they're down a little bit. So let me check on that real quick. Oh, yeah, here's the problem. Yeah, let's okay, yeah, let's try that. No, that's not it. Okay, well, we'll just bring this up. We'll just force it up. So just bear with me and we'll run some checks sometime tomorrow. But hopefully that brought up the levels. Very strange. I don't know what could be causing that there. Anyway, let's just head into the charts. We've got what looks like a good signal. And hopefully everything else looks good. Okay, let's see here. We got Electric Dog joining us and Ron Chalfant. D.S. Kinney saying happy birthday or happy Friday, everybody. Ryan Toomey's joining us, and Adam Davis. Let me move this window over here. Ryan Toomey's reporting a nice crisp 55 degrees there in South Florida. Clear skies with passing clouds occasionally. Fun with Tech says good evening, everybody. And Adam Davis reports on the slow warm-up of the Great Lakes region. That has begun, and maybe I can remedy the cabin fever now. Mr. Manlett reporting 40 degrees in Rockford, Illinois. Yes, Kenny, 42 degrees there. And I think you're in Medford, right? Carl Berghoff also with us, and yeah, Burl H. also joining us. Electric Dog, typical to have a January thaw. David Moore seeing that stratus and moisture coming up from the Gulf, cloudy day in the Metroplex. Strong south wind bringing in moisture. Jason Boggs saying it's a nice day there. And even warmer tomorrow, a bit windy for Sunday. And Jason Boggs, I think you're up there in Pampa, Texas. Sue M. also with us. And everybody reporting good improvement there on the microphone levels. Very good. And Mike says very strong swings in temperature in Houston. I can only imagine there. Yeah, so we've got the southerly winds coming up. And so we've got a bit of a pattern shift. And let me go straight to the charts here. And show you the high temperatures. These are the max temperatures for earlier today, reported about an hour ago. And you can see up there in North Dakota, Fred Reamer up there, he's probably got the kiddie pool out, got that going. And yeah, 41 degrees there, and even up very far up into the Canadian prairies above freezing. So how about that? So yeah, we're getting a pretty good thaw up across most of the nation. And down in Texas, where we're at, almost up to 60 degrees, and Looks like the hot spot in Texas is going to be 74 in Fort Stockton right there. For the country itself, I guess we got to go out to the southwest. 80 degrees right there in Imperial, the hot spot. And I do see what looks like a little bit of a frontal gradient when you get out towards California and Nevada there. We go from 80s down to 40s for highs. So somewhere in between there, we've probably got a frontal boundary. So let's take a look. This is the National Centers for Environmental Prediction Analysis from WPC, and we've got ourselves a baroclinic low there in the, looks like around Desert Rock, Nevada. So right around in there, we've got frontal passage in Los Angeles, and this is a good opportunity to show you one of the tools that we use for finding the passage of a front. These fronts, they don't show up very well on the surface charts, so we have to use other tools such as potential temperature. Another good one to use is trends, going straight to the METAR observations, and this is when it's really helpful to be able to read the raw observations. That's not really something that a lot of weather schools show you how to do, actually. Some of them do, but not all of them. So it's good to get familiar with this. And let me bring up Los Angeles here. This is the Aviation Weather Center. I think this is run at SPC, maybe the Aviation Weather Desk there. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at a trend of the past 24 hours of weather at Los Angeles. And the very top there, that's going to be the latest observation. And then we go back. This is going to be about midday, and this is going to be early this morning. So what I'm doing is I'm looking up each column to kind of get an idea of where there might be changes going on. So yeah, I can definitely see a change here. Earlier today, we had easterly winds, about 3 to 6 knots. And then sometime around 20Z, we picked up winds out of the west, 250 at 10. Now that could be a sea breeze coming in from the west there. There is that possibility. So we might want to go over and look at pressure. So what we see here, looks like the pressure's peaked sometime in the late morning, which is about what we expect, and then they've fallen off. So it's a little bit indeterminate. So kind of what I do is kind of go through these, and if I don't get any help, then sometimes I'll just go to another station. But I can see that we had a lot of fog in there in Los Angeles earlier today. So let's bring up another observation. I'm going to bring up Edwards Air Force Base. And let's see, what do we got here? We've got winds out of 210 to 250 last night. And then as the day went on, now we've got winds out of 290. And that's kind of a subtle directional change, but when we go from like west-southwest to west-northwest in California, that can be all that you need to indicate the passage of a front. So 290 at 16, that's probably a good indicator there of frontal passage. And yeah, winds are gusting up to 20. And another good sign is going to be winds blowing out of the northwest down the San Joaquin Valley, and that's in this area here from Sacramento down to Stockton and Fresno and Bakersfield. And we can see all of the stations here reporting a northerly component. So that right there indicates frontal passage. And then down in Arizona, we can see winds are out of the south, good southerly component, so that indicates we've probably got tropical air in that region. Now another tool that we can use, of course, is thickness and isobars. So let's go to that, and that's a chart that we often start out with on the weathercast. And let's pull that up. Yeah, let me just take a look at chat, make sure our signal is looking good. Okay, good. Everybody's talking about weather instead of audio problems. So I think we're looking good here. So yeah, we can see very good thickness gradient, very good ribbon of thickness change all the way from Minnesota down to Southern California. So we usually look for the fronts to be on the leading edge of that boundary. So we're going to be looking somewhere in this area here. So through the Mojave Desert down to Los Angeles, Orange County, somewhere in that area. And then it kind of tapers on up towards Wyoming. And looks like it heads into Nebraska and up to Minnesota like that. So this is the polar front boundary right there. Pacific system moving across the western states, and obviously this is going to emerge in Colorado and possibly Wyoming over the next 24 hours. So we're going to be looking for the weather to probably go downhill over the weekend here. Okay, where else? What else is going on? We've got a receding high down there in the southeastern U.S. It seems like the past week or two we've seen high pressure covering this entire area. You probably remember that from the past 5 or 10 days there. And we've seen a big change, and now we've got that high pressure down in the southeastern U.S., down in Ryan's area. And what we have up in the Canadian prairies, the northern plains, and the Rockies is low pressure. So we're just kind of in a transitional pattern here. Most of the polar air production is up in the Hudson Bay area, and now we're looking at Pacific systems moving into the west coast there. All right, so let's head in and check out the radar. Not a whole lot going on tonight. A little bit of shower activity up there in northern Ontario near North Bay. This is the 300 millibar analysis up at 30,000 feet. So we've got a little bit of a trough running from the Appalachians down to Texas. We've got a ridge from the Four Corners area up to Iowa, and we've got a 140 knot jet over Montana and Idaho. So obviously this is associated with that frontal system that I was showing you earlier that runs from about, let's see, that was about Minnesota through Nebraska and then up to Wyoming and then straight down through like that right there. So yeah, that jet is just poleward of the baroclinic low right there. There's one right there, another around Desert Rock right there. So this jet is supporting the surface low right here, and also the surface low is supporting the jet. The more convergence you get into that low, the more pushing together of temperature contrasts, and that intensifies the upper level winds directly above that. Okay, heading into the rest of the charts here. We can look at the potential temperature analysis here to try to find the fronts. And just going by the previous charts, we were looking for front somewhere in here, kind of like that. So is that supported there by the potential temperature field? Yeah, sort of. Definitely in California. Looks like there's definitely a front in the deserts here. We're looking ahead of the potential temperature gradient. See, there's the gradient right there. The front's going to be just poleward, or just south of that, I mean. So definitely just north of Vegas. Looks like possible front in the Four Corners area, kind of like that. That might be kind of a mesoscale feature to watch. And then we kind of lose the front through Nebraska to Minnesota. So probably what has happened, maybe there's a bit of an occlusion up here. So maybe we've got a warm front down in this area. Maybe something like that could be going on. So that's kind of the process that we go through, kind of taking the different charts and looking for consistency. And when things aren't really matching, we try to go back to some of the other charts and try to make sense of everything. Okay. Let's see, here's these really cool mesoscale charts from the College of DuPage. where we have weather going on is, of course, the southwestern U.S. So let me bring that up. Okay, so there's the southwestern U.S. 18Z. Okay, this is a 12Z run from this morning. So I'm going to run this forward through the day. So I'm going to be looking for that front to come into the Southern California area. These features are so subtle. And I can definitely see the gusty westerly winds right here around Barstow, Edwards, Mojave, somewhere in there. And yeah, southwesterly winds there in Vegas also. But up in the San Joaquin Valley, there's the northwest winds coming down. So that's where we have frontal passage. So somewhere in between, probably in here, this is kind of what I would go with for the frontal position, because we have the gusty westerly winds right here, slight northerly component indicating frontal passage, but in Vegas, strong southerly component indicating that that's part of the warm air right there. Okay, let's see what happens through the rest of the period. It's very hard to find that front, but I think we can see it coming through the area north of Yuma right there and approaching Phoenix. So I think at this point we're looking at the front to be somewhere in there. This is about 3 in the morning tonight. So we run that forward. Now we've got the surface heating. And now you can see over Arizona we've got westerly winds everywhere. So you compare that to 24 hours previously. Okay, this is tomorrow. And compare this to 24 hours previously. There's a big change there. We've got southerly winds today. And then tomorrow you've got westerly winds. So these are really some fun charts to play with. And let's watch the system emerge in the Central Plains. I guess maybe the Central Plains is where it's going to end up. So let's see here. Here's Wednesday's chart. So we're going to be looking for the system appearing somewhere in this area. We should see pressure falls out in that area. Okay, these are the overnight hours. Now we've got the warm-up on Saturday. Winds are still out of the southwest. I don't think the front has quite gotten there yet. So I'll just run this forward. I can see the Canadian front coming in. Look at those north winds right there. So there's that Canadian front coming in through Canada and the Denver area. But I'm looking for the Pacific front out in this area here. And I think there may be some sign of it. If you look way down at the bottom, down in the Four Corners area, let me move this so you can see that a little bit better. This is tomorrow night. And, okay, this is going to be about 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow night at 10 p.m. And you can see we're picking up westerly winds there in the Four Corners area. So that appears to be the front passing through Gallup, approaching Albuquerque, and getting into the Durango and Alamosa area. And I think if we run this a little bit further, we should see that start emerging into the high plains, and that's when it'll really start taking definition. So let's run that forward. We're still at Sunday morning, but actually we've had the Canadian front kind of zip on south. There it is right there. Canadian front's in a big hurry, but if we roll down a little bit further, yeah, if you look down at the bottom here, you can see that that Pacific front has pushed all the way into Oklahoma. So let me roll that. This is Saturday night, and if you look down in New Mexico, you can see the winds veer. There it is right there. That's going to be about 5 a.m. on Sunday, and you can see the front just kind of barreling through the Texas Panhandle right there. So yeah, this is when we're going to see, if it was spring, this is when we would probably see big storms in Oklahoma and Kansas there. It would be a big chase day on Sunday. But it's January, so not much chance of that. All right, so let me take this down to the southern plains real quick. There's definitely some stuff to learn down there. So I'm going to show you the approach of the front. This is the day before the front. This is Saturday. So we got pretty strong southwesterly flow. 72 degrees there at Amarillo, and it looks like even warmer off the Cap Rock around Turkey. Looks like they're almost to 80 right there. Very strong adiabatic warming in that region. And then during the nighttime, Saturday night, this is when the front approaches out from New Mexico. And there it goes. You can really see it here, spreading from west to east. So by the time you wake up on Sunday there, we've got bear clinic development in northwestern Oklahoma, cyclogenesis in that area, and strong southerly winds. We've probably got a low-level jet running from Austin up to Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and looks like our Pacific front is somewhere right in there. And you can see that we've got some very warm temperatures there, so most likely we're seeing a dry line on this day here. And I'm thinking probably the dry line is somewhere in this area right here. And then maybe the Pacific front is a little bit behind, somewhere in that region. And I think that this here is the Canadian front coming southward. So kind of a complex day there. And we definitely got the Gulf open. So that will probably be bringing moisture up into northeast Texas and Arkansas and Missouri. And for that, I'm going to look at the GFS and see what that shows in a minute. All right, so let's just go ahead and move along here. This is the temperature anomaly today, and this is another chart you can use to find fronts there in the western U.S. This shows up pretty good. This is a 0Z. This is 6 p.m. temperature anomaly. And it looks like the difference between that above average temperature in Vegas and down the Colorado River contrasts pretty sharply with the below average temperature there in the San Joaquin Valley down to Los Angeles. So this is given us kind of a definition like that of where the frontal system is. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and move along here and look at the satellite. And this shows us a little bit of that front there. Kind of a dry front. Let me zoom in just a little bit. I'll bring up the state outlines. So this is going to be about 1 or 2 o'clock today. And if you go further to the west, back in the cold air, we've got lots of unstable conditions out there in the Pacific Ocean, and a lot of open cell cumulus. And if you get further back here, looks like some closed cell cumulus in that area. So yeah, quite a difference between this cloud field and that cloud field. Okay, this is a good time to look at the geostationary satellite imagery. What I did here is I took the disk of, what was this? Can't remember if this goes east or goes west, but I decided to look at the edge of the Earth's disk. This is out in the Pacific somewhere, and you can kind of look over on the horizon and sometimes see some really cool stuff out that way. So yeah, I was grabbing this here. That's the Earth's disk, and the U.S. somewhere in here. But let's go ahead and take a look at the U.S. itself. There's the current picture. We've kind of gotten rid of most of the surface green and yellow. Conditions have warmed up, and the surface chart, the surface colors are now cyan and blue. So we've got a kind of a much warmer air mass here. And there's our Pacific system out there moving through the Mojave Desert. And it's got a little bit of a comma shape. I don't know if you can see that here. See that right there? And you've got a little bit of a dry slot right in there. Very strong jet stream winds coming in the backside of that there. Okay, let me take a look at chat. We've got kind of a busy night here. Let me find my place here in chat. Let's see. Mr. Manlet reporting ice jams across the Midwest recently. Melody Loves Jesus says, nice day to fix busted pipes from the freeze. Yeah, absolutely. We were down in the teens for a couple nights here, and I ran water. We've been running like hundreds of gallons of water here. Fortunately, we have not had our pipes freeze up. Adam Davis says, my weather station recorded 36.9 as a high. No buffering. Very good. Yeah, let me check out the verdict here. 16 frames. Very good. Yeah, we're on a better internet connection, and later this weekend I'll explain a little bit more about what we've been doing here. But I've been trying to bring in faster internet service, and we may start upping the frame rate and then switching over to 720 and see what happens here. Carl Burkhoff reporting no buffering tonight. Oh, I just read that. I'm sorry. Carl was doing a bunch of work getting ready for 12 inches of snow. Wonder if there will be thunder snow. Yeah, we do have a coming storm. Mr. Manlet reporting a marginal risk of severe weather for parts of Texas for Sunday. Ah, so I guess we will be getting some of that moisture. Dry line practically in Tulsa. But David Moore says no buffering so far. Did you get the upgrade to the faster internet? Yeah, we've got a different company here. And I do appreciate the Patreon donations. Let me bring up that page here. Because, yeah, this is what made all this possible. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to go through the list of all our Patreon donors. And things have been kind of crazy, and I haven't been able to keep up with that. But I will put up some sort of list and give you the proper thanks. And I will let you know this spring we're going to be doing some enhanced severe weather coverage. And only the Patreon donors are going to get access to that on certain days. We will have, a lot of public severe weather forecasting here, but a few of the days will be reserved for our sponsors here. Ron Chalfant says, nice to not have any buffering. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's head into our forecast. Go straight for the GFS. I really should be looking at the NEM. Let me go ahead and do that. GFS is really not a good, because we're down to about 36 hours. And this is really when the NAM shines. So let me go ahead and bring that up here real quick. Now there may be a little bit of buffering with this, so just hold tight there for a second. We'll bring up the southern U.S. There we go. And all we have to do is wait at this. Well, we have to select the field. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so we're just going to look here at the pressure and thickness and precipitation. And we'll just give that just a second here. So the NEM is basically the WRF. This is kind of what replaced the ADA model back in the early 00s. The ADA run ran from like 1993 until about 2005, somewhere around there, 2004. And then that was superseded by the NEM. And this is a really good mesoscale model. It's an open source model. It's community authored. So all the different institutions, they kind of come together and develop the dynamics. And the model is modular, so you can pull dynamics packages in and out and configure it exactly the way you want it. And I've actually ran the WRF right here at my desk some years ago. You can run these models at home, believe it or not. Okay, I think the fields are in. Let me bring this up. We're going to have to go all the way up to Sunday. So we can see early on, the Gulf is sort of open. We've only got like 2 isobars, one in Louisiana and one in the Beaumont area, Saturday morning there. And then during the day, Saturday, a little bit of moisture flow coming up from Louisiana right there. So what this means is there's not a whole lot of moisture coming into Texas. So as the day goes on, Saturday, now we're starting to pick up a few isobars. This is late in the day on Saturday. So it's going to be kind of a late moisture return. And then we get all the way up into Sunday morning. Now we're laying on some isobars here, starting to get some moisture coming up from the Gulf, and this is right around dawn Sunday. So it's going to be very much a last minute thing, but we can see that up there in the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma Panhandle, we do have the pressure falls in that region. So it's a very classic setup. And I can also see, if you look at the thickness, the red dashed lines here. So you see that pattern right there? We've got the front already coming out of the West Texas area. So we've probably got something like that going on. And this is about 7 a.m. here. And of course, we also got the Canadian front working up to the north. So let's run this up to the afternoon hours. Very strong cyclogenesis up there in the Texas Panhandle. And that is kind of concentrated in that area instead of this area here. So that will probably break, B-R-A-K-E, kind of slow down the pattern just a little bit. Maybe your Pacific front will be something like that. Dry line probably out ahead of that. Maybe out in this area here. And then by 3 p.m. and a.m. going for a little bit of development just east of I-35. Yeah, there it is coming together. That's probably the dry line right there. Actually, I'm not too sure. That could be forced convection along the front. There's the possibility of that. The only way we're going to know for sure here is to bring up the temperature and dew point field. So maybe I'll just bring up the dew point field. We'll go ahead and load this up real quick. Let me see if we've dropped any frames here. Nope. Haven't dropped any frames. We're looking much better here. Okay, let's see what the dew point is doing on Sunday. Okay, so Saturday night you can see or Saturday during the day you can see some moisture coming up. There's the 60 isodrosotherm right there. This is actually Saturday afternoon. Okay, so yeah, during the nighttime on Saturday night into Sunday, 60s coming up in East Texas right there. Also some moisture coming up to I-35, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Waco. And then at dawn on Sunday, it looks like this. 60s all the way up to Greenville and Mount Pleasant. And 50s all the way up to Dallas. I would like to see better dew points up in this area. And let's see what happens around midday. Yeah, moisture advection coming up north. And this is 3 p.m. So I think we're looking at the dry line somewhere in this area right here. Pretty much along I-35. And then possibly the Pacific front a little bit further back. I don't know. We would have to look at the temperature chart to know for sure. Sometimes the dry line and Pacific front can coincide. That could be also a possibility here. But in any case, this is the western extent of the moisture right there. And that's about where storms are developing during the day on Sunday. So this is what they call a chainsaw chase in Oklahoma. pointing towards eastern Oklahoma right there. So you would pack your chainsaws and head out east on I-40 towards... good grief, it's been a while since I've chased in that area. I'm trying to think of the towns. I can't even remember. I know you get out towards east of Tecumseh, and there's... I just... between there and Fort Smith, I just can't remember those towns. I focus mostly on what's west of there. So, yeah, let's see what happens through the rest of the night. Squeegee squall line developing, moving into Arkansas, getting to Little Rock just after midnight, and into the Mississippi River region by morning. So it'll move quickly westward there, or quickly eastward. And behind it, pretty good cold air advection coming in. And you can see the 540 line coming all the way down to Dallas on Monday morning. So it should be kind of gusty and cold there on Monday. Okay. That's about all I got for tonight. Let's see here. Just one quick look at the chat. Will the book be shipping soon? I still need to check on that, but I think it has probably shipped already or is close to shipping. The tech there at the printing company told me that they are... Well, they told me yesterday or the day before yesterday that they were about to ship. So anyway, I can't wait to get hold of the new book. It's going to be great. Fun with Tech says the big test of the new connection will be if GR2 can run in the background. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And Adam Davis says it can't be worse than chasing in Pennsylvania. Yeah, referring to the chainsaw chasing, jumping from hilltop to hilltop, hoping there's a clearing in the trees. All right. Anyway, I appreciate you all joining the webcast. Hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow, and we'll cover some of this severe weather on Sunday, assuming that we see any. Anyway, have a good evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.